What's up guys, this is Abhinav from PhoneBunch and here's another video for today. Our first look at the Micromax Canvas 6 Pro. Now Micromax today announced 15 new smartphones. The two flagships are the Canvas 6 and the Canvas 6 Pro. Now this is the Pro variant which comes with a plastic build, 4 gigs of RAM but just 16 gigs of onboard storage and no fingerprint sensor. It has a 5.5-inch 1080p display up front and Helio X10 octa-core innards. Storage is expandable here however, and it is running on Android 5.1 Lollipop. Now wait, what if I told you the Canvas 6 comes with a full metal unibody build, the same cameras and a fingerprint sensor as well, along with 32 gigs of onboard storage. Now wouldn't you call that the Pro variant? Well, Micromax doesn't think so. And someone really needs to get their head screwed on right at Micromax. Now coming back to the Canvas 6 Pro, it has a complete plastic construction. It does feel a bit cheap as well. You have volume rocker and the power button on the right, which do offer decent tactile response. Now don't get me wrong, it does feel good to hold in hand because it has sort of a matte finish at the back. But when you compare it to the Redmi Note 3, the La1S, it feels far cheaper. And you can see that the back cover is actually quite flimsy. Coming to the insides, you have a 3000 mAh battery, separate slots for 2 SIM cards and a micro SD card as well. Now coming to the front, you have on-screen buttons which are definitely a good addition. Now this display actually looks quite decent. It was quite bright, we were outdoors and you can see that the display is still quite visible. And the camera actually did capture images pretty quickly too. You have a 13 megapixel rear, 5 megapixel front camera and you can record 4K videos with the rear camera. At least the Helio X10 actually supports that. We don't know whether this phone can actually record it. Now the brief time that I spent with the Canvas 6 Pro, it did take images pretty quickly and images generally did have good color reproduction. The front facing camera was pretty decent. Now coming to software, it's a pretty stock experience. We are running Android 5.1 Lollipop, which is again quite outdated. But there is not much customization, so the UI is quite fluid. There are some apps that came pre-installed and you have the Around You service which has now been renamed to just Around, with which you can book cabs, order food from restaurants, even get directions very easily. It is a good service. And here you just have 16 gigs of onboard storage, which is pretty ridiculous when the non-Pro variant gets 32 gigs of onboard storage. But at least USB OTG is supported over here. And you have 4 gigs of RAM, out of which you can see that 3 gigs of RAM are free. So RAM management shouldn't be an issue on the device and I did feel it was very snappy. So yes, performance was actually pretty decent on the device. I did like the cameras as well, but these are just first impressions. Overall, the build does feel a bit flimsy. Definitely doesn't seem flagship material. The Canvas 5 was actually built far better. And actually the non-Pro variant comes with a full unibody metal construction. It felt far more sturdier. So again, I would call that the Pro variant and this one just the Canvas 6. But well, I am not running Micromax. The kicker here really is that both phones are priced at Rs 13,999. So again, one strange decision after another. Well folks, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, let us in the comment section and as always, have a great day.